Cheers, mate. How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Shit, I am decent. That took me a little longer than I thought. Sorry about that. What's going on in India?
We had some semblance of some rains for the past weekend.
Man, I tell you, I'm worried about you guys. I don't know how that works. Over here we just don't have that many people. So, one way or another we can make do. You guys, whoo, Lordy.
Think
I
about
don't
it,
know
John.
about that.
Yesterday I drove to what you would call in Oklahoma like the country, like,
Right.
and it was about a 10-mile drive one way and back. It took me about 3 hours to do it.
Wow. Couldn't you
Mhm.
run that in the same amount of time?
I'm pretty sure you could.
The reason I don't live in Los Angeles is I lived there when I was about maybe 19 or 20 years old. I don't remember truthfully. It was in that range. And these two girls and I lived in Pasadena, which is just
Mhm.
outside of there. You may have heard of the Rose Bowl. That's where they do it in Pasadena. Cute little town. You just couldn't get into the city. And I would be like, it doesn't even matter if you want to act. How do you get to a job when you get a job? Because I was able to get work. I mean,
Mhm.
I was always been pretty lucky that way. But getting in and out, you'd have to leave at 4:30 or 5 in the morning to get there by a 7 o'clock shoot, and you only live 25 minutes away by normal people's time. Yeah, it was just crazy. That's why I
Yeah.
don't live there. San Francisco, you could get anywhere because you were walking or using the trolleys or the buses. They had
Mhm.
superb transportation. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, like think about all the corporate, like the multinational companies that actually have cabs to pick up their employees from their homes, right?
Right.
So that
Yeah.
cab basically, say it's an eight-seater, it picks up eight people,
Right.
but they pick them up starting about 2.5 hours before their shift starts. So it means that these kids at times spend about 5 hours or 4 hours just traveling back and forth, commuting because it's free and the company pays for it. Then they spend another 10 hours at the office, come home, there's
Right.
just enough time to have a meal and go to sleep and do this all over again.
Yeah. And we wonder why they're burning out. Why do they not want to do that? I, you know, I I owned my own company, so I was okay with working that much. What I could not do on the Los Angeles freeway is I just sat there and went, look at how much of life I'm wasting.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was smart enough to see that before I was 20 years old. I mean, I was just like, no, I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
New York, you can get around fairly easy. I'm always, so if Google's coming to your town, you have to offer them a package to get them there.
Yeah.
How about Google offering you a package to help build some infrastructure so their people can get
Mm-hmm.
around? I mean, we are so upside down on how that works. I don't understand because you go, well, you don't want to lose them, and you go, you sure? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a story about I think it's Butte, Montana, and I don't remember what company it was wanted to come in there, and the presentations went well. They got along with the city council. Everybody agreed on everything. And then
Mm-hmm.
the last meeting, whoever the company was, and it was a major one, said,
Okay.
well, what are you going to give us for incentives? And they said,
Uh-huh.
oh, well, we just assumed that you wanted the best of everything like we have for the people that already live here, that you'd want that for your employees. So wouldn't you want to kick into the economy and have some taxes paid so the roads don't fall apart and the schools aren't
Mm-hmm.
subsistent? And it worked. They stayed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't, it's just modern way of doing business. We're stuck on the stadium deal here. And I have people go, right, but that's just the way it works. The rich get richer. And I go, okay, I mean, did you hear what you just said? Like
That
they, I,
cannot be the status quo. And how the
right.
hell are people just so complacent or fucking content to just have that be it? Like there are so many times where I try to tell people about like, oh, they did this way in Oklahoma, and they'll be like, yeah, we
Right.
can't do that. This is India. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. That's why I'm fucking giving you a
Right.
new idea. I'm
Right.
not taking it. I'm
Okay.
not taking a shit on anything.
Right. I know I told you this when I was over in cheese school in Ireland. And they said, you
Mhm.
don't have to wait till you're in America to do something great. And everyone in there was like, yeah, you do. Can't do it here.
I think it's like burned into your brain that this is it.
Right. I don't know if at this point in history, obviously we're at a crux, like something pendulum swing is going to get ready to happen. And I think the car companies on strike is a pretty good example of that. And the actors that have never gone back to work. I mean, we seem to be at that point, and I don't know which way that goes, but something's happening. And the big thing is what I liked, what the unions did is they tied what they asked for an increase to what the president got of their company. Oh. They go, if they got a 40% increase in the last 5 years, we should get a 40% increase, because before that, we were cutting our wages. And you sit there and go, okay, if they've done nothing else, they have shown how stupid that is. That one person, as if that one person came up with the idea. You and I both know in some boardroom somewhere, some person presented that idea that they stole from somebody under them. And a couple of people got to take the big, huge, gigantic check from it.
Sounds like something someone called Doug or Steve would have come up with.
So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I mean, I really am. There would have, I don't understand when during COVID, the car companies were making enormous money. Why they didn't throw the laborers a bone is just beyond me.
No, yeah.
You know, and car companies no longer run America. It used to be in business school here. What they would say is, how Detroit goes, so goes America. And then when Detroit basically fell to the Japanese, which they did, and now we build cars all over the country, or not we, other countries have built stuff all over the country because nobody gets to say they're not American. They go, I got more American stuff there than my Japanese stuff. It's a good move. It's good. But so that theory's gone now. The so goes America on Detroit. So I don't. I'm interested to see if these guys are powerful enough to do anything, because some of the arguments are a little weird, where we don't want to lose labor because we're moving into electric vehicles, and you go, you're going to lose labor. They just can't keep people on the clock, not doing anything. That argument doesn't sail, but most of the other ones do. I mean, they really do.
Like, think about all the new opportunities and new technologies that create new jobs that left unaddressed. You basically have that immigration problem where you need to bring people from other countries that are able to fill in that little gap in employment.
Right.
Like,
Go ahead.
We were sitting through a meeting on Friday where it was basically an Australian company that was trying to outsource some back-end work to a firm here in Bangalore. And do you know what the damn thing was? The requirement? It was for students who are writing exams. They just point a camera and we make sure they don't cheat. That's the fucking job that they were outsourcing. I was like, isn't there someone who could just stand in the fucking classroom? I was like, what is up with your population?
Oh my God, that's hilarious. And so they would do AI to see if they're moving side to side, or, you know, I can see how they could do. Wow.
Initially, they would basically just pay someone a couple of dollars here to just sit and stare at their monitor and make notes as to who's doing what. That's about it.
Yeah. Why would, God, that's
not even
crazy.
AI. It's human guy, people in Bangalore just sitting and staring at a screen.
Wow. Okay. So what I would tell you, I'm not saying I cheated on things, but I cheated on some tests. It took me longer to prepare to cheat than it took me to study. And so by the time I got to the test, I was able to take it because I'd done all of my preparation of minutely writing everything.
Been there, and that gets you nowhere. Where even if you find that bit in the exams, you're looking at it going like, how small did I write? I can't read shit.
Right. So and that was my issue. I can't read it. Or I did it in between my fingers, you know, where literally it couldn't be seen. And then I was sweating. So it was ruined. by my fifth high school, Deepak, we were taking college entrance exams, and they did them at our school, which private schools don't do that. You go to a third place and go take it. And and I sit down, and these two guys sit down next to me, and I'm like, hey, what's going on, guys? And they're like, nothing, man. I hope you don't mind we look over your work. And I go, you want to cheat off of me? Are you kidding me? I'm the one that cheats off of other people. And they go, no, you went to private school. We know you're going to do fine. And I didn't really think about it. But as far as testing went, I am not a person who is nervous about tests. So I really do score pretty well because I just eliminate what doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't that I knew, I just knew what it wasn't. And yeah, I guess they were right to cheat off of me. How sad is that? And I was like a C student. I wasn't even an A student ever.
I want to go track down these two blokes and see what the hell they're up to in life
what
right
they're
now.
Doing? You know, I will honestly say, and this was the truth. Somebody had made a quote that I read in the last couple of years, and they said, maybe it was Einstein. If it's in a book, you don't need to memorize it. I'm pretty sure it was Einstein. And I always looked at it and go, yeah, I've got the reference material. I just need to mark it. Why do I need to know this word for word? Which I was an actor. I knew how to do that. I knew how to create a script. I knew how to get the words to sit in my head and how to make it work. But why? I mean, literally, how many times do I need to do that with something from geometry or algebra? I mean, really. Note cards. I'm good with that in a debate. Note cards. But I had that short view a long time ago. I know half the people in India that'll listen to this go, "Oh my God, that's why they're failing." That's why.
Think about it, Sean. During my when I was studying in Oklahoma, there was one time a surprise test, and we could use all the books that we had.
Right.
And one of my friends, she looked over and she was like, Deepak, do you know where this is? Because none of us had opened up. No one knew where the hell to look for the answers. Like, we would read one question and I'll look around and be like, does anyone know which chapter this comes from?
Oh my God. Wow. I'm embarrassed for them on that one. I always read my stuff. I just, the monotony outside of language, like language, in Spanish, I could do 20 words a day with no problem. And then everyone around me spoke Spanish. So it reiterated what I was studying. And that worked for me. And history, I was always interested in because I could make a movie out of it in my head. You know, I mean, you and I would both make scripts out of it. How would that person actually have said that? Because this isn't what they said. Not under pressure or under fire.
I know, like the whitewashed version. Actually, maybe it's the most sanitized version because whitewash sounds like the British just painted over it with white people shit.
both of those might be right. Let's just go with a little bit of
sanitized and whitewash, Sean. That's what history.
Oh my God. Well, they kind of are, and I know we've discussed this in the past. My big deal with Native Americans is none of us got to hear their side of the story till the internet came.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you and I ever talked about Killers of the Flower Moon that's coming out in a month?
We have briefly.
Okay.
But it's about a month ago or something when we first heard about the movie and stuff.
Okay, now that we're getting closer, I know I may have mentioned that my in-laws side of the family were from that city. And I'm getting more and more concerned that we're going to look like the bad people. I'm not sure I'm concerned. I believe I know. We're
This is going to be some terrible thing where I'm going to watch it and be like, that goddamn Sean Cummings and his family.
Now, I would like to, I want to point out to everybody, it's not my family. It's my kids' mom's family. My family did enough damage on their own. We don't need to add to that one. But yeah. And so I keep seeing these trailers for it, and I'm like, oh, these stories sound familiar. Oh, these sound.
Weirdly enough, like this is probably the first time if a lot of people watch that movie in India, they would learn about the city that I've lived in for almost 15 years of my life. And they'll be like, is that
not the way to learn?
And I'll be like, oh, shut up, people. Did you see the timestamp?
Right. I did tell you my cousin from London when I moved here, literally said, "Hey, you got to be careful. You know, the Indians are still pretty upset." And I was like, what do you mean? Well, you know, Sean, that, you know, there's an occupation there. And I go, that occupation's been going on for 100 and something years. So I think we're to the next level. They're reoccupying the lands that were taken. So it's, they got better lawyers.
Is that the thing where we discussed this, where you told, where you said they hired white lawyers and that's why they do so well nowadays in court?
Well, so if you think about it, if you are in leadership of another country that's been defeated, you know, you do your final argument over where your people are going to be displaced, because that's where it works worldwide. We're not special here. And then after you sit around generation after generation and watch how these other people are prolific or do better or grow better, you go, huh, okay, well, evidently it's all about the lawyers. I need their lawyers. Think about Donald Trump not being in prison. Yeah. And it isn't that he gets the best lawyers. He understands the law game. And when he originally was in office, I go, oh my God, we're just going to be in a never-ending court battle with this guy. And he doesn't mind. He knows 50% of the time he's going to win.
Yep.
I mean, he really does. It's 50%. And how do you argue with that? If you've anyone that's ever been in court and seen a jury that wasn't smart enough to get out of jury duty, do you really want them deciding your future?
Yep, think about it. My immigration attorney, even my attorney at the software company, they're all white, Sean.
Right. Well, and it isn't. So for me, if I was doing a child custody case, you want a female because they're thinking so much further ahead. If I was doing a criminal law, I more than likely want somebody of color. If I look like this, I want somebody that doesn't look like me taking care of it. Because then we really do look like the system's rigged as soon as we both walk in. Now, I don't care if they're sitting second chair or something like that. But yeah, I want somebody who knows the judge. Look, it all comes down to relationships. It isn't about you going in and winning a case. It's about, does the judge trust that you're presenting an honest case about your client, or are you just getting paid? I mean, not every judge is that way. We had a guy here. So a friend of mine's son got himself into trouble during Black Lives Matter protests. And he went out one night, a bit of a mental state, and decided that he was going to fake shoot at some police so they would kill him, and he would die by what's called suicide by cop. And he did a terrible, he did a terrible job of it, and they didn't kill him. And he's in jail, and he still hasn't been mentally evaluated, and it's over 2.5 years. We're doing well here. Really, we are, yeah.
2.5 years, and nothing's been done?
About even to say that he's capable of going to trial. But they've given him offers like 30 years, 40 years and everything. And you're like, folks, he was trying to commit suicide. He didn't shoot at anybody. Yes, it looks bad on paper because he intended to make them do this. But the system itself, he's been in front of judges that were absolutely only worried about their political career. I was in the room. I saw it. And they would say, yeah, but if I let him out and he does something, I'm finished, which is probably true, right? It'll get used against you. And then he had judges that were the most considerate, kind people you've ever seen in your life that literally postponed. He goes, I want to go into the back and I want to read this law again and make sure this is what applies. And I was like, wow. And that guy actually kind of went against him, ruled against him. But I was okay with it because he took the time. Isn't that weird? Yeah. Sound. Yeah. 2.5 years, no mental evaluation. Yeah, let's but you want to put him in jail for 30 years. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's awesome that they give you a deal even without evaluating your mental health. Like, here you go. Right. Are you okay with spending 30 in here?
Right. And because if you go in front of a jury, they're going to give you life. And you go, maybe, but maybe we get the mental evaluation at that point. We're and this is a lot of America. It's not just here. And I'm sure in India, some countries are worse about prisons than others. Like Mexico, you really do not want to be in prison in Mexico unless you're a drug lord. Then you get to build your own wing. Do you get to build your own wing over there if you're rich enough?
I'm pretty sure, but nobody gets to look behind those walls, so you'll never know what's going on in there. Like, I've heard these horror stories where you can actually pay. I'm not sure whether it's true, so nobody fucking write me.
Yeah,
Where
you don't need a ladder.
You could actually pay people to go in on your behalf, so the count in the jail doesn't like change.
Doesn't change.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You used to be able to do that here, back in the old days. Yeah, somebody, and the mafia used to do it, weirdly enough. They would send somebody forward to do a plea deal, even though they knew it was somebody else. And that person would give them a couple $100,000 to take care of their family. Yeah. Everything's going fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
I like that it's a blind panic all the time when we have to talk about something and we're like, yeah, it's fine. Leave us alone.
It's all good. Everything's fine. What else is going on in my world up here, man? We did halfway to St. Patrick's Day, so I have to tell you about this stuff. So anybody that owns an Irish pub, you need to do a hashtag Irish Pub India, because halfway to St. Patrick's Day was almost as big as St. Patrick's Day. We didn't do anything outside because Vito's needed to be open. But when we opened the doors, there were 50 people outside, which fills my whole place. And it was packed like that for 7 hours. And everybody wants a reason to go have fun. But we originally created it because the state fair was going on at this time. And we just needed something to build up a weekend. So 2 college football home games in the state fair. Ordinarily, you could just close and leave and nobody would even notice. Instead, we had that big, huge monster weekend. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome. I did see the pictures you posted of the Guinness machine.
Yeah, isn't that hilarious? It does. You don't want too much black in the background. Otherwise, it's basically pencil stenciling with malt, not with cocoa, but with malt. And it works. It works pretty well. Yeah, it's neat. Yeah. Every gimmick helps, brother. I'm not above a gimmick. I am not above it.
Hell yeah. I should tell the local Irish bar here that they basically call it the local. That's the name.
Yeah, that's the correct name. Like if I would have done this right, it would have been called the local, and then just with my name under it,
like by Sean Cummings or
right.
Yeah.
Good for them. Well, they knew somebody from actually in Ireland then. Good. Wow. I'd hang out there.
That's the place where tonight, hopefully, I'm going to do some open mic stuff, just testing out a new set.
Well, give us a little sample. Give us a sample.
See, I don't have it all completely. Like, if you look at this, you'll see how badly it's written out. Like, check this shit out. It looks like the journal of a serial killer or the Unabomber type shit. That's how I write crap.
This is my manifesto. You will listen to me. God, you should start out and open with that. This is my manifesto. You will listen to me. We had a guy years ago. We did open mic at, I don't even remember which place. And he would get up and read other people's jokes, but he was great at it. It was amazing. Nice. He was like, look, they didn't do this joke right, so I'm just going to read it to you my way. Instead of going to court and getting a bad read, he did a good read on everybody's stuff. It was a fascinating lack of waste of time. And what I mean by that is, like, he didn't work on it. He used color-coded pens to show where the inflection should go up and down.
Do you know, in my little scribble paper, there are things that are marked that says, try not to say fuck here.
Don't use the word C-U-N-T right here.
There was a guy, there is a local comic here who had like a really cool opening bit, okay? It's almost like when, say, you're the restaurant owner and someone's parked in a douchey little way, you'll come in and you take the mic and you announce, right? Hey, the car number so-and-so, can you please go move your car? So he goes on stage and he's like, hey, the person in the red Mercedes, car number so-and-so, I think you're parked downstairs. By the way, I'm free for adoption is what his set starts off with. His name is Sumit. I'll give him a shout out for the sole reason that I said most of the joke. But it's a really cool beginning to it because you basically think it's a fucking announcement because that's what I thought when I put my head up.
Wow. Okay, so here's another one for you. Does anybody ever eat in a place where they come out and call your name, like, Deepak for two, Deepak for two?
Yeah, there are
Anything like
places
that?
that do that. There are.
So if anybody's familiar with that, you just pick out your favorite adverb or adjective, insolence for two, insolence for two. Just start walking around the stage. And whenever you get back up to the mic, you use a different adverb or adjective. It is a good way to test if that works in a market, because you only do it once or twice, and in 30 seconds, either get light chuckles or good laughs, and then you roll into your deal.
Yeah, like this bit is like really. I'm basically just starting with some weird advert that I saw the other day on TV, which is for a gym. I'm not sure whether the name is good. It's called Cult Fitness, which is a very stupid name. Okay, I'm like, dude, come on, throw how much of money you want. Did y'all not even bother opening a fucking dictionary and looking up this word type shit? That's how annoyed I am with those ads. And the guy in the ad basically comes on and says something like, fitness, what's your excuse? And I'm like, well, dude, I have a job on 2 time zones. I have bills to pay. I have loans to keep up with, credit card payments. Plus, in the end of the day, all I want to do is drink some beer and smoke a cigarette while I'm free. So those are my excuse. I'm not some actor who gets paid for this shit type thing. So that was kind of what I was thinking of doing for the beginning.
Dude, that's great. That works. Okay, so if you're going to do that, you just need to have a pair of glasses, and when you're one character, have them on, and then take them off when you're the other character. It works.
Should I do the douchebag glass-wearing move where I put it at the back there and I talk?
So I had a deadpan bit called Bob's Bank, and we were having a banking crisis in America back in the 80s when I was touring. So I wrote this deal about Bob's Bank, and if you want to make a deposit, you can just put it in my mailbox, and I'll gladly send you a receipt with a beer. And I went on for 2 minutes on the dumbest shit you could ever have, and it worked. And it worked really well. I don't know if it worked today, but something like that deal where the guy goes, "What's your excuse, man?" And you're like, let me get my manifesto. I work too fucking much. I work in 2 different time fucking zones. I mean, you could have some Lewis Black moments there that would be awesome.
The part where I changed it a little bit was after I talk about this entire list of responsibilities. I wouldn't just look at the crowd and be like, but there are actually good things in life, right? Like beer. Anyway, what I was saying was, I'm just going to be like, that's the only good thing in life, it's beer.
Okay, so in the middle of that set, what you have to do is, I'm so fucking tired I speak the wrong language to the wrong people. Give you another segue on stuff, because literally, I run some weird hours. You run weirder hours than me. And you got to change languages. I'm mostly in English. The only time mine gets messed up is if it's in Spanish, and I'm still fairly fluent. So
I had this the other day when somebody was asking me, "Is this how you actually sound?" I was like, "Dude, you have to just listen to me while I'm in your restaurant. I have to live with this fucking accent. So leave me the fuck alone."
That's when you got to tell them. You go, "I go to Indian restaurants with my friend, and I'm the asshole, not him."
Yeah, do you remember the time where one of our friends, like my friend Sahil from Malaysia was with us? And Sahil, the moment I walked up to the counter, he called you and he's like, "Tell Deepak not to talk." I was like, "Fine, fuck you guys. I'm going to go sit down."
Oh, my God. I still remember going over to Abel's, though, and I speak Spanish, and you're brown, and we still got sat in the white section. And I was so disappointed, so disappointed. And for those of you who don't know what that means, at Mexican restaurants, if you're sat in the white section, you get cheese sauce and shitty salsa. If you sit in the brown section, you get all the best food.
Oh, shit. I used to love that. The taco that they used to make out of tongue out there.
Yeah, nice. Very, very nice. Lengua, like language. La lengua.
I thought we were going to talk about something else. I know. Okay, fine.
I can do whatever you want to do, my man. I am available. I'm just waiting for bread to cook.
Yeah, your bread cooking story is the one that most people are fascinated about, that this is what we do while you're making bread.
But what's interesting though, because people go, why do you make it? Why don't you have a cook do it? And I go, I don't know what the problem is. People can't make this bizarrely simple biscuit dough. And what it is in Ireland, everybody was so poor. All of this stuff was made by hand. And it's not designed to be made in a machine. And so when somebody who doesn't know what it's supposed to taste like goes, let me throw it in the machine for 15 seconds, you're like, no, God, no. And because it comes out looking like white bread. And if it doesn't look like a biscuit, it's not English biscuit. But if it doesn't look like an American biscuit, it doesn't work.
No, like a scone.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's a scone with gravy. So bad, but it's a scone.
Oh, goodness.
I know. So that's what I do while we're here. But the biggest thing that I do every morning is I clean the bathrooms, for lack of a better word, to keep my humility. And I would love to see the cringing on people's faces that they go, no way, really? And it's what I do. It's how I roll.
Oh, Sean, the last thing I have to tell you, this morning when I was driving somewhere, today is a festival, okay? It's like the festival of the Indian god Ganesh. It's the god with the elephant head.
All right.
So basically, there's like a festival you celebrate because he's considered like the remover of obstacles and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so all the streets were packed and I was driving and my mom was with me. Luckily, she wasn't paying attention to what I was mumbling, because this guy cut me off and my window was down, but I was leaning toward the window and I clearly remember saying, go eat a bag of dicks.
Oh, dear. Okay, that's
and
pretty...
I looked at her to make sure that she didn't hear me. And she was like, she was just in her own world. I was like, thank God.
Okay, that's pretty solid. Okay, I did hear a really amazing quote. And it's a really famous atheist that was talking to a Catholic priest, and he said, I think if there's anything that you could understand is why I'm an atheist being a Catholic. And the guy goes, what do you mean by that? And he goes, you are absolutely and utterly positive in your religion that the Quran is not the word of God. And he goes through all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And you see the priest nod and he goes, and I feel the same way about your book. So we should really be able to understand each other. And I was like, that may very well be the best explanation I've ever heard. Isn't that crazy?
There is a weird way of saying that, where the hell you're going to is not the hell that I think that you should go to, because the hell that I believe in is different.
Hey, that is pretty good. That is pretty good. Mm-hmm. All right, man. Take us out, buddy.
Okay, thank you all for joining us at the Villagers podcast. We have Sean on his way out to check on his bread.
All right, man. Have a good day, my friend. It was good to see you. All right, bye-bye. Bye.